Wow, wow, wow. Arise, Sir Christopher Henry Gayle. He's done it again. He has done it again. England absolutely blown away. And I've said that a lot on this tour, but this was something special. Going into the game on the back of a defeat, but in some ways a moral victory from the fourth ODI. Chasing 441, we got to 389. So it showed that we had the fight, we had the belief, we had the quality to even get to such a total, but in the end, we just couldn't take it home. Let's say 441, 414, we were what, 27 runs short. But this time, completely different. Throughout the match, throughout the series, should I say, every pitch, every game has been definitely favouring the bowler and the batsmen. But this one, it definitely favoured the bowlers until Gayle got to the crease, that is. But Holder won the toss, put England into bat, and we stuck to our plans. We had a set plan how we wanted to bowl, and I'm glad the bowlers showed their quality. I mean, of course, the second ODI, the first game that we won, the bowlers came back into it later on to really win us that game. I don't think the batsmen didn't put on a total for me that they should have, and the bowlers won us that. But today, we're in the fifth ODI, we had a plan. Bowl short, bowl quick, get up and around the batsmen's, their chest, their armpits, their head, just get in amongst them. We saw in the test series that when they were faced with proper pace and aggression, they could not cope. And it was the same story. Opening the bowling, Sheldon Cottrell, Sergeant Cottrell, and Captain Jason Holder, and they got us off to a brilliant start. The early wicket of Johnny Bairstow, ball swinging in from Sheldon Cottrell, and Bairstow clean bowled again. He has a weakness in his technique, and we have exploited that very, very well throughout this series, throughout the tour. Jason Holder again, he bowled well. Carlos Brathwaite came in, and I, for one, as you would know, I've been giving him a lot of stick, and rightly so as well. He hasn't been performing since that T20 World Cup final in 2016. But he's performed in the last two games. He got us very, very close to the winning total in the fourth ODI, and he bowled well as well, to be fair. Especially in his first spell. This time he came on and bowled 7-8 over on a trot, and picked up 2 wickets, bowled very well. Economy rate was very good. It was tight lines, not giving the batsman any room, much room anyway, to really go after him, because he's not express pace, but so he has to make sure his lines are tight, his lengths are good, but because he's tall, he gets a lot of bounce, and when he did get it short, the batsman could have do nothing really but fend it away as long as it was well directed, and he got 2 wickets. Stokes was hooking for one of them, and there was another one caught behind. Could have been Joe, I can't remember exactly now, but he was caught behind, so he picked up 2 wickets, and he contributed well and really justified his place to remain in the side for that 5th ODI. Arguably, based on the wicket, it should have been Devendra Bishu to miss out, because, as I said, Russell has been called up to the squad. He was called up and he was ready for the 4th and 5th ODI, and he hasn't played in any of them. Of course, we've got a 3-match T20 series, and I hope we see him, because I mean, if he's not there, why have we actually called him up? Why don't we just let him continue playing in the Pakistan Super League? So hopefully we see him in the 3 T20s. I think we will, but we have to wait and see. We never know with these West Indies selectors. But Bishu didn't bowl it over. Granted, I guess nobody could really expect what was going to happen, but it was clear that the wicket was favouring the seamers. So even if we had brought in Russell for Bishu, that could have been a good choice. As it was, we didn't need him. 28 overs, England were bowled out because O'Shane Thomas, he put one fiery spell down. Fiery! They could not deal with that pace and the bounce and the direction, the aggression. They could not deal with it. Hooking. Happy hookers, I call them. Call hooking in the deep, fending off in the deep, clean bowled. It was a massacre. It was absolutely a massacre. England was shell-shocked. The #1 rated team in the world. And this is what you're dealing with. Listen, you got a World Cup in it, so you better come with something better than that, because your World Cup's at home. And you can't be getting embarrassed like that in front of your home crowd. So you better go back and fix up. But as I said in the last review, West Indies for me are the dark horses, because we have an X factor both in the bowling and the batting. It's just about getting that together. And I think once also all the players come back, the fielding department is also where we can thrive. There's been throughout the series a few issues with catching, specifically Ashley Nurse. I don't think he's going to get any better. But someone like Russell in the field, there has been talk of Pollard, for example, but those are electric fielders out in the deep. And in this match, we caught everything. Cottrell caught everyone caught everything out there. But yes, O'Shane Thomas came in and got his first 5-wicket haul, 5 for 21, I believe it was. Was it 17? Minimal. Cleaned up England, 113 all out, 28 overs, and there wasn't even time for lunch. The worst part about all of that for England is that they were, 80 odd for 5, 111 for 5 at one point. They lost their last 5 wickets for 2 runs. 2 runs! You know how embarrassing that is? That's shambolic. Because England have talked about the famed, long tail, long batting lineup. But after 5 down, nobody could chip in. Really? That's what you're telling me? #1 team? You're jokers, man. Absolute jokers. There's a lot of people in the media. You got some apologising to do, because a lot of them spoke about West Indies getting wiped left, right and centre. Test match series, ODI series. I think the T20 is probably the only place they gave us a chance. Because obviously that is our format. That's the format that we thrived in the most in the last 5 years or so. I gave us a chance in the test series. I said 1-1. We won that one 2-1 to my surprise. To be fair, I thought we'd lose this series. I said we ain't going to get whitewashed because we're at home. We're going to get a victory. But I expected England to come to show me why they were world #1. And at times with the batting, they showed. But personally, with the bowling, I ain't been impressed. I haven't been impressed. Mark Wood, good bowler. Quick. So he put some fear into some of the batsmen. And when you got that kind of pace, it always rushes you. Always makes you think twice what you're going to do. But the rest of them, decent. They're just decent. Walt's decent. Plunkett, decent. Tom Curran, he only had 1 ball in that innings, but I don't know, innit? Rashid, I think Rashid is probably their X factor when it comes in their bowling department. But he didn't get a bowl. There was no time for Rashid. 12 overs, game over. Christopher, Henry, Gayle. Man said, pitch, pace, bounce, how about that? And he came out blasting. His first 4 was a top edge over the slips. But after that, everything was hit clean. Everything. 6s galore. I think he's hit 38 6s in the series, which is the record for the number of 6s by an individual batsman in a bilateral series. I think the second is about 20 odd by Yuvraj Singh, so that says something. And imagine The third game was washed out, so we're even 1 game short. We only played 4. If he had played 5, more records would have tumbled, I'm sure. More records. He then got to 50 off 19 balls, which was the fastest by a West Indian ever. Darren Sammy had got to 50 off 20 balls twice, but Gayle beat that by 1 delivery. He wasn't here to play. He had places to go, things to do, people to see. He weren't here to play. John Campbell opened the innings, of course, with him. He only made 1, and for me, he hasn't taken his chance in this series. Now, of course, let's talk about Gayle retiring. Gayle's mentioned they're going to retire after the World Cup. Elvin Lewis, for me, 100% has to come in for that World Cup once he's fit. But then who? Because, as I said, John Campbell hasn't taken his chance. I'll stick with him in the Test match. If Gayle does retire, yes, I'll stick with him in the 1 days. But he had that opportunity, and I think 5 innings, didn't get a 50, or 4 innings, didn't get a 50. Clean bowled for 1 in this Test match. So he's got a fight on his hands, and for me, going into the World Cup, he definitely wouldn't be in the team once Elvin Lewis is fit. But that didn't deter Gayle. He just kept going. Shea Hope came to the wicket, hit a beautiful lofted off drive over the rope for 6, and Gayle just kept going. Took Mark Wood for 26 of the first 5 balls of, I think it was his 5th over, or possibly 6th over. And it's a big change from the last game, because it was a massive total. And in that game, the 4th ODI, chasing 414, Gayle said, you know what, I ain't gonna go after Wood. Let me just see him off, singles here, singles there, which most of the batsmen didn't learn from. But singles, and let me go after the rest of them. But this time, he said anyone can get it. Anyone. Every and anyone went. Granted, they only bowled the 2 bowlers, pretty much Walks and Wood, and both of them just went the distance. Balls were flying left, right and centre. They didn't have to change the ball this time, like they did in the first ODI. But 6s galore. 77 he ended up with of 27. Mark Wood got his wicket bowled of the last delivery of that over that he took him for 26. But reality is Gayle had the laugh. Like, yeah, we got the wicket, but the game was over by then. It was like 90 odd for 2, 20 odd needed to win. Like, come on, the game's over. Hope then got out to Walks and Bravo and Hetmyer finished the job. 115 for 3, won the game by 7 wickets. The biggest margin of defeat for England in terms of deliveries remaining, over 200 deliveries remaining, which shows the magnitude of this victory. And I have to big up the West Indies, because going into this ODI, 9th in the world, had to qualify for the World Cup, this format we've been very, very poor, piss poor in the last few years, losing series to Bangladesh, losing consecutive matches to the likes of Afghanistan. So it'll be interesting to see what we do going forward when we play these teams again, to see how much we've obviously developed. But playing at home against the world #1 team, we've shown the quality that we have. To draw a series with England at ODI, with the amount that they've invested in this format, bringing in coaches and managers specifically to work on ODI cricket, with a World Cup, of course, at home in their minds. And to be honest, we drew the series 2-2. We could have easily have won it 3-1. England may argue they could have won it 3-1 as well, if they won that second ODI. But I've seen enough from this team to say, yeah, you know what? We're back. I'm not saying we're there yet. We ain't there yet. But we're back. We're back, moving in the right direction. Too long we've been just meandering and actually dropping and dipping. T20 came along and revived us in certain format, and in that format, and the hopes were lifted again after winning the 2014 and 2016 T20 tournaments. But this is different. This is actually different. I'm seeing a real spirit, a real togetherness, a real quality in a team that I haven't seen in a long time. Probably since the likes of Lara and Adams and Shandapur, Walsh and Ambrose, of course, in the early 2000s when I was watching West Indies. But this team has the talent of the youngsters, the Hetmeyers and the O'Shane Thomases, of course, Gabriel, who didn't even play in the series. And it's got the experience of Darren Bravo, who's been called back, thankfully. Kemar Roach leading the attack in most formats. And of course, Sir Christopher Henry Gayle. Arise.